We've been going all year, so we just want to keep that energy going. So of course we got to do our little bit of music that we do to represent for all our brothers and sisters out there who going through the struggle and the struggle with domestic violence.
This is Young Motive, and I have a topic today that's often overlooked. Domestic violence. Domestic violence wears many tags. So Queen Afia, if you're listening, check it out. Domestic violence, it has to stop. The kids are crying, it's coming down like raindrops. It's a behavior we can't condone. It's breaking up our happy homes. Let's get it together, talk about it, and let them know that they're not alone. Young Motive is back with the topic of the day. It's a crucial situation that we all must pay more attention to. It's bringing families down. You know me, I know the truth, and I'ma spread it around. It usually happens at home behind closed doors, but it's spreading through high schools and college dorm floors. For the victim, it's like they got their head in the noose from all the scars of the physical and verbal abuse. Men do it to women, women do it to men. It's a cycle that happens over and over again. It's disturbing and far from bliss, and each and every child is emotionally affected by this. I think it's time we bring the dark to the light, to stop the 911 calls in the middle of the night. So I'm reaching out, and I hope it's worth my while. It's erasing the bond between man, woman, and child. Domestic violence, it has to stop. The kids are crying, it's coming down like raindrops. It's a behavior we can't condone. It's breaking up our happy homes. Let's get it together, talk about it, and let them know that they're not alone. Domestic violence, it has to stop.
All right, all right, all right. Peace and love again. Of course, we are live here in the Sister Circle for another talk. We've been talking all year. We have been talking all year about domestic violence, and it has just been awesome conversation, awesome vibes. I mean, the sisterhood is out here doing their work. I mean, they putting the message out about domestic violence, and how severe something like that is for women, for men, women, teens, boys and girls, children, how something like that is starting to, and has always, let me back that up, has always affected the family as a whole. Everybody at that dinner table, nobody wins when we talking about domestic violence. Not a soul wins that. So the sisterhood is out there doing the work. They doing workshops. They coming and bringing toiletries. They are speaking up about it. They sharing their stories. I'm just so happy that we have a multitude of sisters that's connected with domestic violence with many tags, sister organizations that are doing the work. You know, they got their Nike boots on, their Timberland boots on, and they actually out there on the pavement having this conversation that is very hard to have. Because when people think about domestic violence, they mostly think about and sisters, I'm gonna pull you up to share if you want to. I know we got sisters in on our secret line, and if you want to share it, you can. We got sisters in our live group chat that that are tuning in. So if you got something to say, you know me, I'm gonna open it up. We gonna say it, and guess what? We gonna tell the truth. That's all. Tell the truth about it. Sisters. When you talk about domestic violence, you say, "Well, what is that?" Most people say that it is a man abusing a woman. That's facts. It is. Um, but it's also women abusing men, and it's also teen dating violence, so that intimate partner piece. teen dating violence, family violence. We just came out of child abuse in April. So you have it there. You have it in so many different cities where people are being traumatized from the different tags or the different forms of domestic violence and the different environments and spaces and places that it can show up and affect our dinner table. You got to think about those many tags, the many tags of domestic violence is serious, and people say, oh, physical. The abuser is coming for your mind. The abuser needs to immediately start making their way into your mind. Okay. Once they do that, once they are successful at doing that, right, it's nothing that they can't do. Hey, sis, thanks for joining us in the sis circle this morning. Once they can do that to you, you know, then you have emotional abuse. You got tags that follow verbal. Verbal is the gateway for somebody being able to abuse you or put you in a situation where it's harmful. Because we know that domestic violence is very harmful. And we don't want that for nobody. We really don't. But when you at your dinner table and it's going on in access, every day we have victims of domestic violence living this. Every day we have abusers return, and they return. They almost equally return to each other and continue the domestic violence that they're in. Some people would say, well, Queen, are they making a conscious decision by doing that? They're not conscious. You cannot be in your right mind and feel like that being with somebody who tears you down verbally is okay. You're not thinking properly about yourself, your mind, body, spirit, to be with somebody who can tear you apart. I mean, literally rip you to shreds. So when you say, in something like that, you may get a victim who want to talk about it, or who want to, say something about it, who just feel a need to cry out for a minute or two. And when we say, girl, as soon as you start with that girl and do your neck, no, that right there, you putting the victim on defense. And at that moment, they can shut down and just not even care at that moment, right? Because they're not in their right mind. They are severely and deeply brainwashed to believe that this person who constantly tears them down in confusion, that is love. It's love. And if you believe that, or if you're in that, or if you've been experiencing that, I'm here to tell you, it's false. It's false. It's absolutely false. Every amount of research is going to tell you need to exit the situation. Every amount of research will tell you that you need to exit the situation. If you're going into medical clinics and doctors' offices and stuff, and the doctors say to you, are you in a harmful situation? Are you experiencing domestic violence of any sort? And you say yay or nay. If you say yay, the doctor's going to say, I'm going to get you some resources because you know that this is dangerous for you to live in. Yes. So if the doctor is just like the doctor have to sit up there and tell cancer patients that you in stage 3 and 4 and there's nothing that we can do for you, And you know how hurtful that is for cancer patients to feel like that they getting the worst news of their life, the most horriblest news in their life. And you struggle to believe that. You struggle to accept that. You struggle to respect that. Trust me, it's the same way with domestic violence. You struggle to accept it. You struggle to respect it. You struggle to believe that what this doctor is saying is the truth. I really do need to believe this doctor, my doctor, somebody that I trust, or somebody who has never told me nothing wrong, or when I was really, really sick, this doctor was able to, get me out of some things. There's a lot of patients who feel like they have a great relationship with their doctors. The doctor is only telling the truth. The doctor is telling the truth. That's the same way with advocates and sisters that are out here working. If they sitting there telling you that this is their story, maybe you believe part of it, or two, maybe you don't believe none of it. At some point, you need to be able to discern what the person is saying. If you discern what the person is saying, you'll be able, it's true if it could have been you, or if it is you, or if you share some instances with that. You'll be able to tell when somebody is telling you the truth. You need to tell it, because the truth is going to cut you. The truth is going to cut you. And the cut is not the cut is more of an awakening. It's like an awakening to the soul or to the spirit. And when you've been with an abuser who's very convincing, abusers are very convincing, and they study and show themselves approved by implementing the tactics that they've studied on their victim, right? So they're very convincing, and they make you believe that it's a love at first sight type of thing. And abuses get you to the space where you feel comfortable with sharing. You feel comfortable with opening up. Yes, everybody's saying gaslight at this point. Yes, if that's what it is. I call it verbal abuse. Some of us say manipulation. Some of us say gaslighting. We have these other little branch words, but it's going to be verbal abuse. Yes, absolutely. They know how to use that tactic so well, because the tactic has been trending for more than 100 years. Verbal abuse has been trending for more than 100 years. And you have generations of generations that have trended verbal abuse. And some call it, I'm just talking to you bluntly, some of them call it, freedom of speech. Some of it call it, I just say whatever I feel like I need to say, how I need to say it, and when I need to say it. You either need to accept it or you don't. Of course, hearing the truth is going to cut you. That's how you're going to know that it's the truth, because it will cut you. And so what do you do when that verbal abuse is cutting you? Sister, you got to believe that the verbal abuse is cutting you. You got to believe that it's not normal. And then if we take it back to childhood with our sisters, right? They experienced this at their dinner table, and now they are having it being done to them by, a partner. It all seems to coincide. It all seems to make sense to that sister, because it's like, if I can survive what my mother and my father did to me, or my family did to me at my dinner table, It's nothing that I can't survive. Let me say something to you. Ain't nobody surviving no verbal abuse. You're not going to ever survive it. From childhood up until now, you're not surviving no verbal abuse. Verbal abuse got power. It got power beyond power, beyond power, because it's been trending for over 100 years. Hmm. As long as language has been on this earth, verbal abuse has been on the earth. So, and then you have it where you can do verbal abuse in different language. You can speak different languages and do verbal abuse. You got some abusers out here, they speak multiple languages. Okay. And they got multiple victims in different countries in these languages that they're speaking. Why? Because they got to show off their showmanship. They got to show off. You think you know me, but you really don't have no idea. Abusers, they gotta show off the showmanship. It's a whole performance to them. It's a whole show for them when they can sit up here and speak multiple languages and be abusing women in multiple languages. Yeah, I mean, and you call it love, you call it love. You call it, oh, he ain't mean to say nothing like that to me. Oh, he's never spoken to me like that. He just don't talk to me. You dress up the mess up, make up all these excuses as to why this abuser, you know what I'm saying, is not doing this to you when clearly the abuser is doing it to you. And April, you said they look for women who don't have a strong male presence in their lives. They do it all the time. They look for vulnerability. That's when the abuser sit down and start the first warning sign of domestic violence. The first warning sign of an abusive personality is grooming. So what you talking about? You talking about grooming, April. And you ain't telling no lie. That's what abusers are going in for, the vulnerability, for the fact that you feel like you never had no one to love you and care about you, not even your own family. Oh, when you say that, not even my own family, that's a whole piece of bait for the abuser to start figuring out how they gonna put the show on. Because it's a whole show for them. It's a whole show for them. They're not thinking about your life. Verbal abuse is rickety raw. Verbal abuse don't play fair. It don't play fair, and it never plays fair. And let me tell you how you know that verbal abuse been trending since the beginning of time. Because we concocted some school adage of sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Imagine, go back, think about your life. Especially if you're 50 right now, 60, 70. How many of y'all was taught on that playground? Sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. How many of you were lied to about that old school adage right there? Who? Now, you think about generations of them women and think about you. They have gotten into verbally abusive relationships. I mean, it's not your fault because the people didn't taught you this mess. Verbal abuse destroys self-esteem. Absolutely. Is verbal abuse meant to build up your self-esteem? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you have people that are smart asses, and I'm going to say it like that because they are, who think they know everything, right? And they speak to you on a level like you a dummy or something. Like you cannot comprehend, they speak to you with a discounting manner they already discounting you. You know, they already thinking of, oh my God, I can't wait till she be quiet. I can't wait till she be quiet. Can't wait till she be. This is what they're thinking when they're sitting there listening to you cry out that verbal abuse hurts. Like, and I can't accept what you're doing to me. Like, I just, can't you get better? Look, to ask the abuser to get better is far-fetched. To ask the abuser to switch up the way that they talk to you is far-fetched. It's far-fetched. I mean, you would die trying, and your self-esteem, just like Sister April was saying, is going to be small as all outdoor. There's nothing. I mean, verbal abuse is so severe, it lasts a lifetime. It's so severe, it lasts a lifetime. And doctors and researchers and everybody becoming more smart because they're saying, well, what are you listening to? Because the doctors know, researchers know that these words have power. And when somebody is verbally abusive on access, they are very smart. They know you can't survive in that. Doctors don't want you to try to think you can survive in that, because you absolutely cannot. You cannot. I cannot. And you cannot. And the children who are sitting at the dinner definitely cannot. We are expecting our guest here shortly. I'm hoping she'll be logging in soon because I really want to hear from Miss Lynzi Richardson. Y'all have got to hear this when she come on here. I'm telling you, you all have got to hear this. She should be logging in any minute now. But back to the message at hand, because sister, we in the sister circle and we got to get educated. Education is key. That's the key to turning verbal abuse around. Let's see. Peaches, what you say? Words would never hurt is a lie. Girl, words would never hurt is a total lie. And you know, because not only have we experienced verbal abuse, but we've done it. And we know that we've done it out of to try to hurt somebody because we feel hurt. So we've done it out of trying to hurt somebody. So you know that verbal abuse facts, it hurts. It's been hurting ever since we've been teaching these children this old school adage that is a lie. It's the dumbest lie that anybody could ever teach a child. It sets them up for failure on words. You know, and quite frankly, I'm just tired of teaching the children the words, because folk at the dinner table ain't teaching them the words because they don't know the words. And then the people before them didn't know the words. And the people before them didn't know the words. So don't you dare come for no baby who cannot describe their feelings. But yet they may cuss. They may fuss. They may argue. They may bully. Don't you dare come for that child. And you know you did not give them the words. What I'm saying, I don't even got it. Sisters, April is saying verbal abuse also starts at home when some of us were told we would never be nothing. Okay. Snap, 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 snap. The prime example. That is the primary example of why we have experienced verbal abuse for years and years and years, and why there is no cure. There is no cure for verbal abuse. You just have to hope that people get in the class, get to domestic violence with me. Taylor say, Queen Fee, I need to take some classes. We just hope brothers and sisters will come to class, because there is no cure for verbal abuse as long as you're out there. Because, baby girl, it's been going on since the beginning of time. It's been going on since the beginning of time. Peaches said, I just had to say to a teacher this week Who hurt you as a child that you think you can say whatever you want to these children in the school? I said your words are unacceptable. Honey, unacceptable. Unacceptable. But we got teachers who are teaching these children. And all they result. Yes, they went to school and got an education. Some of them teach English. Some of them teach multiple languages. And they still go back to what we like to call Ebonics and Spizzies, the primary language. It's unfortunate that verbal abuse is the primary language. It's just terrible. It breaks my heart. I can't. April, what you say says verbal abuse is the first sign the physical abuse. I already said it's the gateway. It's the gateway to emotional abuse, which is going to follow the verbal. The emotional abuse is going to follow the verbal because that's how they work. That's how they work. You know, they go into twine. So when you see the child sobbing and you know, not feeling like themselves, or you know, they've heard, you know, they hear verbal abuse so much that you know those words not building them up, and you know they tend to put their head down in their lap, and you know, and they sob. Or you see our young children who have outbursts. They have outbursts that are linked to verbal abuse. And so, you know, it's just bad when our children have to experience this and they're not supported. You know, the first thing does not go through, you know, our heads and say, well, what's wrong with that child? We say, why is that child acting crazy? Why is that child acting stupid? There's the verbal abuse right there. Right? Acting crazy, acting stupid. Well, how many times have that child been called crazy and stupid back at the house? And now we up here talking about why the child acting crazy and stupid. How many times has the child been called crazy? So now the child gets the perception that maybe the world think I'm stupid. Maybe, you know, and they develop this stupidity behavior. You know, they develop this stupidity behavior and it's traumatizing. And they start to use the words on themselves. They start to accept those words of what they've been taught of verbal abuse. They start to accept those words, and then it turns into what? Emotional abuse. Because the children, the young people accept the words because they've heard it so many times. You know, and so now it's messing up their mental. You know, and so what can follow that? The child's graduating high school, and now they need to get a job and get some finances going and understand, you know, financial literacy. The child can't understand financial literacy because they what? The child been suffering verbal abuse since the time they was in the womb. So they definitely don't have no financial literacy going on. So some of them are susceptible to financial abuse almost immediately. Some of them learn how to use that in elementary school. Middle school, they start stealing money out your purse and stealing your credit cards and doing all kind of things. Stealing your car. I mean, just costing you money through vandalism, busting holes in your walls and breaking doors. And that stuff costs money. You better believe if you are in an abusive household, marriage, relationship, the vandalism that go on in there, the destruction of property that comes outside and lead to your vehicles and to your bikes and to your cell phones. You done bought 7 cell phones at this point because your cell phone keep getting broken based off of verbal abuse, based off the emotional abuse. Now it's financially busting your pockets. I mean, a verbally abusive, a domestic violence relationship can turn into $1 million just like that. Just like that. Now, we got sisters out there who have been in the classroom and have taken the class, Domestic Violence Wears Many Tags signature class, where we talk about financial abuse, I've put the numbers on the board for the price that it cost them. And I had one sister leave the classroom. She was so hurt to look at those numbers and see that she was almost $300,000 in debt just from an abusive relationship, from an abuse. So don't let nobody tell you that domestic violence is not financial abuse. It's financial abuse all day in the paint, because that's what it is. You know, them numbers started to trickle up. Boy, they started to calculate up. The calculation be off. My board be big. My board is big. School, and I got to start from the beginning all the way to the side of the board, and then I got the right kind of small, because it's so many things that they done spent money on to sustain a relationship that can put them in $1 million worth of debt. And let's start with the children, right? Because each one of the children costs $250,000 from the age of 0 to 18. That's just talking about what the law say you got to do for the children. That's not talking about the cell phones and all of the other fun activities that we fund our children, and we try to put all our children all these devices and stuff so they won't hear the domestic violence this one. You say put your headphones on. You spend $300 for your child to get some headphones so they can't listen to the domestic violence that's going on in the household. Now, how many children you spending that kind of money for so they won't hear that your relationship is horrible? All of that add up. Then you got, victims who drink themselves to the pulp so they won't have to hit. That add up. You got abusers who over here breaking stuff. That add up. So, you can very easily be in $1 million debt from a domestic violence relationship. Since you say know your worth, and do not accept the behavior. Sis, let me say something to you. Our sister, that abuser, no. That abuser, no. Your worth is my worth. That's what it is. Your worth is my worth. And sis, that can last a long time. That can last a long time. I wish they would believe their worth. And I wish they would believe that set them boundaries the first time it happened. The first time it happened. Your prefrontal cortex is tuned into that. And you already know that you got zero tolerance for somebody doing it to you. So you're not about to take that call no more. You're not about to text message all that stuff no more. But you're right. Sisters need to know their worth and they need to set their boundaries, but they don't know their worth and they don't know the boundaries. Some of us need to set them boundaries for ourselves. They be setting them for other people. You need to set your boundaries for you. So when you sitting there looking at this mess or you being hit and all that, your boundary says to you, you need to exit. You need to devise a plan to exit. Your brain tells you that. But that's not happening. Verbal abuse is the reason I accepted verbal abuse from my abuser. And it is also the same reason that I became a verbal abuser to men, that I dated who actually did not respect me. I think she's trying to say she dated people who did not respect her, because since you couldn't respect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, dinner tables didn't really give us the definition of respect. They basically link respect to I pay the bills. No, you had me. That's why you pay the bills. I didn't ask to be born into this world. You born me in this world. Respect is not necessarily linked to I pay the bills. Respect is linked to your inner self. You see, and once I can see you respecting yourself, it's going to make you respect me. I was also verbally abusive to people who respected. Oh, okay. So you was That's that sound about right. That sound about right too. Cause you wasn't taught what the respect is. You see what I mean? You wasn't really, coached on how to understand self-esteem, and that it comes with self-awareness. It comes with self-acceptance. It comes with self-worth. It comes with self-respect. You know, self-esteem. Those attributes fall under self-esteem. And so nobody never lined that up for us. I ain't found out about no self-awareness till I went to school and got educated. Said domestic violence wears many tags educated me. That's when I found out. I might be the CEO of the company, but I'm a student first of domestic violence wears many tags. I'm a student first because the business had to educate me and help me put some real language behind what I was going through. Trauma bonding is a whole thing. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. And quite frankly, that's who the abuser wants to meet. Somebody who's trauma bonding. I don't see you. I don't see my sis on the call. I don't see her. I don't know. She didn't pop up on my thing. I'm not sure she's on Sister Circle call, or is she was supposed to use the link. I'm trying to see where she at, family. Y'all keep on thinking about the thoughts of them tags of domestic violence. She got to use the link to get on with me. She says she backstage. Oh my God. Let me figure this out, y'all. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm trying to get Sister Lynzi on with us. Yes, honey. Verbal abuse is serious. I like what y'all saying, sister, because it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. Let me put that up there. Y'all chime into what Peaches is saying here. Um, I'm trying to get the sister on with me this morning. I don't know what's going on. I'm about to send her this link. We live. Let me see, can I get her the link so she can get on? I'm not sure where she's at. But we definitely want to hear from her. She everywhere on my social media. She got to get on here. Come on, Sister Lynzi, the devil is a lie. Come on in here. Yes, Lord, we got to get you on. What my sister say? And I was raised to speak. I might just have to get her on a call. We might have to just hear her out because it's getting kind of late. 924. Hold on, sisters. Bear with your sister. I'm trying to get her to have a call in or get on the link. Leanne, you Peaches, you said, and I was raised to speak my mind, so I choose to do it exactly like I witnessed it growing up. Okay. That did not go well because I was labeled as a child as being sassy and disrespectful. Wow. Okay, let's go back to what Sister April Bell was saying. April, girl, you on fire today, April. And you got to get your sister over there on your platform to educate the people now. All right. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. We should be able to speak our feelings and not hold things in. That's what I'm saying. We should be able to be transparent and not hold things in. But like you said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And most of us, we don't think before we speak. We go straight into what we know, which what is comfortable, which is going to be verbal abuse for a lot of us, you know. And some people have, if you go to the faith-based community, faith-based communities do verbal abuse very nice, but they still verbally abusing you, you know. So all the time it might not be the hoorah hoorah. You got some people some abusers who are clever and they know how to shut you down in the nicest way. And what they do is they continue to just shut you down in the nicest way. They continue to just shut you down in the nicest way. All right, we're gonna get our sister on. Let her come on here and do what she do. I'm so blessed to have her here with me today. Oh my God, we shared some trauma together. Oh Lord Jesus, help us. And she going to share with us. I'm just so happy. She is a wonderful woman. I caught her on YouTube, and you know, from one mother to the next, they have lost a child. And for those of us, you know, out there that have lost our loved ones, we lost our nieces and nephews and stuff to the strongholds of domestic violence, you know, to the strongholds of gun violence. You know, we all share that same story for real. You know, and I want to put something out there real quick before Sis come on and do her thing. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. Think about this PowerPoint real quick. You hear people say, everybody grieve differently. Now, everybody grieve differently. She had her way of grieving. I had my way of grieving. Everybody grieve differently. Well, I'm here to tell you, everybody grieves the same. Everybody grieves the same. And if you want to know more about that, you got to take my class. Come on in, Sister Lynzi, girl. Come on in. Can you hear me? I think she got to unmute herself. Unmute the mic. I'm trying to unmute her. Can you hear, sis?
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Lord. Yes, we can hear you. Thank
I
you
can't
so
hear you guys,
much.
but it's okay.
Yay!
Listen, the devil didn't want me to be. The devil tried this morning. He tried hard, technical difficulties, still working a little bit tough. I'm here, and so I'm glad to be here.
Difficulties. You still kind of fading in and out a little bit too.
I'm still fading. Yeah, he's
He's
still
still
trying to.
a liar.
He's still trying. Yeah, he's still trying to interrupt the greatness, but those are the things that we deal with sometimes, and through the challenges when you start to realize. But is it better now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a little bit better, yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, well, thank goodness for that. But I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Lynzi
Come on and tell
Richardson.
us who you are and why you here and share that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Lynzi Richardson. My son's name is Tyree Richardson. He was murdered on June 13th of 2022 by his girlfriend slash baby mother's boyfriend. So I got to pause when I say that because that's exactly what it was. His girlfriend, his child's mother's boyfriend murdered him when he was coming home to their home that they shared in to his bedroom. He was shot 16 times and he didn't see it coming. So, I it's taken me a while. 2022, we're in 2025. First 2 years were extremely difficult for me, just with acceptance. Okay, let me get close. I have a dance studio, and so my phone picks up the Wi-Fi. So let me know if this is better. No. Okay, hold on.
It's,
Give me 1 second. 1 second.
okay,
Bear
that's a
with
little
me.
bit better. That's
Okay, is that better? Is it better?
yes, that's better.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
that's
Sorry
better.
about that. I'm walking away from the building. I think the Wi-Fi and my phone will connect to the Wi-Fi. But as I was saying, my son Tyree. Okay, good. My son Tyree Richardson, he was murdered on June 13th, 2022, by his girlfriend's, his child's mother, which was his girlfriend at the time, by her boyfriend, walking into their home in his bedroom. He didn't see it coming. He was coming home from a club, took his shoes off at the bottom of the steps, walked upstairs, walked in the room, and was shot 16 times. And didn't have a chance of survival. And so, the first couple years, it was very difficult. The anger, the revenge, he was one of my four children. He was my youngest son. He was 20 at the time, had so much going for himself, had a food truck, had multiple businesses, and it was just so as a parent, I have seen and heard. It wasn't until it happened to me that I realized it's a difference. It's a difference of saying, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I, wish I could have done this, and all these type of stories. And so how this relates into this particular program is, sometimes males are sometimes overlooked as victims also. And it wasn't until he passed away that when I started to tell his story, which was last April, so that was a year after his death, and I decided to tell his story because I had to let go. And my advisor said, my counselor, my pastor, if you don't let this go, you're gonna be next. And so for me, it was a release. Once I was able to tell his story, then I started to be able to live again. But in going through his trial and hearing all, because when you go through trial, you see everything. You hear the text messages. It's nothing's hidden. You know everything. Things you don't want to know, some you do want to know. But in going through his trial, I realized my son needed me, and I didn't see that he needed me before this tragedy happened. And then I started to blame myself. Well, what could I have done as a parent? So the purpose of my story and why I want to share with other people is if you see whether it's your child, yourself, don't ignore it. And what I learned from him or through his trial was previously a month before his death. Um, I was reading his text messages, and himself and his child's mother, they would argue, they would fight. They both were intuitive on each other. Like they did stuff to each other. Like he would talk about how his eye was black, and then she would say, well, there's no, you did this to me. And I didn't see any of this. I didn't see any of this. And he wasn't raised in that type of environment or background. And then once I heard his story and realized how he was killed, some of the triggers that she did was to end up in the end result that he ended up in. And again, I'm not blaming anyone, but if you don't want to be with somebody, leave. Love is a stronghold, a stronghold, a stronghold. And we do stuff if we want to be with somebody else. How can I really don't want to leave this person. So then it turns on each other. They start to turn on each other. And even all the way up to his death, I never knew any of it. I never knew any of it. It wasn't until I got to trial and read his text messages. And then after his death, he died on June 13th. She sent me a recording of him saying that he didn't want to leave on June 20th. And I'm thinking, how dare you?
You should have sent me this when you took it a month ago. As a mother, give me an opportunity to step in to try to assist, give my child some education on just walk away. Could have possibly saved his life. But I didn't have that opportunity as a mother. Knowing all this, I found out all this after it went on. And not that he didn't
Right.
deserve to be shot 16 times in the back and not have a chance of survival. But also we have to take accountability for what's going on. And I see these young kids all the time. And I'm not making no excuses for my son, her, or anybody else, but I see it all the time. We don't know how to let go of something that we don't necessarily, we figured, well, I can't do better, or something that we're comfortable with. And that's what I feel like with those two individuals, with him and her, because he could have done white, he could have done better, she could have done better, and he probably possibly could have still been alive. And the way that I see it, now that he's gone, once I heard about it, some of their trials and tribulations came from them not wanting to let go of each other, whether it was healthy or not healthy, but it ended up in a death of one
Mm-hmm.
of them. And a child lost his father. So,
Yep.
I just wanted, I want to come in because it's hard to get to that point to accept that. But I want to share that because you never know who's listening and who's on that fence. And like, if they're going to do it once, they're going to do it again. And if you're going to do it to each other, it happens all the time. I could be walking through the store and I see young men and young women arguing with each other. And I'm thinking, damn, it to myself, knowing what has happened to me and how close it's happened to me. And I be wanting to say sometimes, like, we all gonna argue, we all gonna disagree, we gonna sometimes not get along. But when you get to that point that becomes your life and you're not happy, neither one of y'all, it's not gonna end good at all for anybody involved. It may not be death, but it could be something that can be unfixable. And I after I lost him, I saw another young lady. She lost her life. She was found in her apartment, and I just, all these things have just become triggers because, I if it's one of those things, if you could save somebody, if one person hears the story and say, okay, I want to do something different, I feel like we've accomplished something. So that's, a little bit about, his story, my purpose. I'm glad you have this platform because losing a child, losing anybody that's extremely close to you is it's hard. Like, it's not even really no words to explain the emotions that you go through daily, the emotions you go through monthly, yearly. I don't care how long it's been. You have good days, you have bad days, you have the days, what if, what could I've done, what should I have done? You just have that. And I just, I wish as a parent I had the opportunity to give my child some motherly advice on what he could have done. And then I blame myself a lot of times after the fact because his father and I have been married for 26 years. All my children, we come from our family. They never saw their parents like in that situation. And I felt like when I read like some of his messages after the fact, his main goal was to keep his family together. Because if you think about it, before our generation, that's what our parents did. It wasn't no breaking up. It wasn't no, it wasn't none of that. Like, you stayed together for your kids and your family. And I felt like when I read like some of his, when I read some of his messages, that's all he talked about was keeping his family together. And so I naturally would blame myself because I'm like, he felt like he would be a failure in an unhappy relationship if he didn't. And it's okay. It's okay to start over. It's okay if you're not happy. As long as you're a present father, it's okay. Nobody's gonna look at you no differently. So, you know, um, especially if it's not healthy for you and the other person involved, and it's not gonna also be healthy for your child. So, I just so again, that's my purpose. That's my story. That's his story, and I just hope that it could get out to someone and possibly, save themselves from a tragedy.
Yeah.
Mm. Yep.
Thank
And I
you.
want to thank you, and I
Thank you
want to
so
thank you
much
for
for that,
having
for
me on because,
sharing with us.
yeah, I want to thank you for having me on because again, this network of losing a child, sometimes we're being brought together through different, and you don't even know that you got a sister that's experienced the same thing, and we need each other. Yep.
Same thing. Yeah. You kind of chopped up a little bit. Thank you so much for that. Yes, girl. We neighbors. We trauma neighbors. Lord have mercy. That sounds horrible. But we share that same story of losing a child to the strongholds of domestic violence. You know, um, and in the text messages you read that your son wanted to keep his family together, that's the same thing I read. Wanting to keep my daughter want to keep her family together. Victims, they say the same, it's the same when you going through something like that. So I definitely appreciate you and thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story. One last thing. How are you still standing though? How are you
So,
still standing?
so the first week I wasn't. I mean, the first year I wasn't. I didn't eat for months. I didn't sleep. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I can't even explain
Mm-hmm.
to you. When I went through the trial, it was worse. It wasn't until last year that I got extremely sick that December. And when I got sick, my doctor said, I don't even know how you walked in this office. Your vitals, you should be dead. That's exactly what he told me. He said, well, let's turn this around. And he said, I had to start to go get infusions. When I went to get weekly infusions, I had to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I sat in those infusions and saw all those sick patients. And I said, I can't do it. And that was my eye opener. I said, okay, let me get like, I got, it's either me, I'm just going, I'm killing
Right.
myself. And it was, so then I had a pastor, I had a counselor, and they said, let it out, Lynzi, tell your story. And I swear from that day last year that I told my story, I felt like a new person. I do have days, good and bad days, but it's not like it was.
Right.
And so I just,
Right.
I just, I just push and
Right.
stand through that. So, yep.
Mm-hmm. And so you got moms out there right now who have lost their sons, and I know a couple of people who recently lost their sons to domestic violence. Um, how can we believe that our sons can be victims of domestic violence? Because we struggle with believing that our sons, yes, everybody wants to see the son as the batterer, but that's not true in a lot of these cases. Our young men are victims of domestic violence. What can you say to that mom out there, like you said, your son needed you?
So what I say is look for the signs. I had always used to say, I'm never in my child's business, baby, get in their business. I used to say I ain't want to be that mother that be all up in the process, all in the business. Get in their business. If I would have got in his, he would still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And hey y'all. Yeah. And just don't ever be afraid, be a mom. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
20,
Thank
but even though he was 20, he wasn't grown. He still needed me. He still needed his guidance. And I didn't I wasn't there. So okay, so I had some stuff that I
Mm-hmm.
had to handle at my
Thank you so
business,
much. Thank
but
you so much for
yeah,
that.
please invite me back next
Okay,
time.
y'all heard it from our sister,
All
Lynzi.
right,
She
thank you for
blessed us here
having
with
me.
this
All
amazing
right.
story. We so grateful. Yes, ma'am. We so grateful that you decided to come on and be with us. And you heard what she said. You know, her son need her, and there's a lot of sons who we don't feel the need to question their relationships and what they getting into. So 16 times, you know, come on now. Come on. He didn't have a chance. You know, so no matter what, we got to ask our children them tough questions. We got to ask them hard questions. Furthermore, you got to get them to the dinner table and start educating them. And stop lying and telling them that children are made from the birds and the bees. Stop lying. Children ain't made from no birds and the bees. And I just saw Deion just posted a video out there of him when his children was small. And his thing was in the caption, I have always kept it real with my children from day one. Him and the 3 children are sitting on the bed. It must be Shiloh, Shador, and the sister. They sitting on the bed. He said, forget this. This ain't working. He put the book to the side. He said, Jack and Jill went up their hill. He said, but I hate to be the one to tell y'all this. They ain't go up there to fetch a pail of water. Okay? And nobody don't have no business going up no hill with Jack or Jill. Y'all hear me now? Okay? Let me say something to you. No. The children didn't get here from no birds and no bees. That is not how they got here. So should sex education be discussed at our dinner tables? Absolutely. Absolutely. What you waiting on? What you waiting on? Keep telling the children they got a non-people in the woo. What you talking about? That's not what research say. That's not what the doctor gonna say, and that's not what the books that the doctor gonna give you for the children to read to them, to educate them about their body. It don't. When you read the books, they don't say nothing about no non-people in woo. They name the body parts. You know, we need to cut the sticks and stones will break your bones, but words never hurt. You need to stop saying that, because words kill, and they cause our young children to kill themselves. And some of us old heads today, we wanted to kill ourselves because they would say, sticks and stones break my bones, but words will never. And you knew them words was killing you. Like, you knew those words were killing you, because not only was it coming from one place, but it was coming from multiple places. That we was under the turmoil of verbal abuse. So I want to put that out there. Thank you so much for everybody chiming in. We got to move forward because we got part 2 coming up. Y'all need to stay here, stick around. Come on back to part 2 at 11. We about to wind it up and get my sister on here. She a medical doctor now. She also doing her coaching business. She going to tell us, you know, how we can receive, you know, how we can do self-care after being in a traumatic situation. So this is a topic that we got to have ongoing. We still got to have this topic ongoing because we're not doing self-care. And when you sit there and make excuses for your abuser, you ain't doing no self-care. Okay? None of us are doing self-care, doing that. So peace and love, everybody. Thank you for chiming in to part 1. We're going to come right back at 11 o'clock with part 2. Peace and love. Thank you for chiming in. Peace and love.
A woman wants a man like a father. So what you telling her? To accept this from a man, you gotta watch how you talk to whoever you with. Words hurt, people forgive, but never forget. I guess it's up to a team to teach these things. It's just my expression of how YMCs sting. Seek a shelter from mayhem, they won't doubt you. And there's all types of programs to reach out to. No need to feel ashamed, cause it's not your fault. And this evil way of living has to come to
an another link. So I'm gonna close this link out. Y'all so much.
It's a behavior we can't condone. Breaking up our happy homes. Let's get it together. Talk about it and let them know that they're not alone. Domestic violence.
and domestic violence
The kids are
the
crying.
agency
It's coming down
and
like
setting.
raindrops. It's a behavior we can't condone.